Violence per se has never been my bag, except personally. But in pictures it has, and I would like to try to at least portray it on the screen as it is. I've failed, and I've succeeded. But all those pictures you talk about basically are morality plays. I've broken a lot of fences and noses. I just do the best kind of a job I know how. But there are certain people who are filmmakers, and there are certain people who are not. That's all.
Hey, welcome. It's The Good, the Pod, the Ugly podcast you might like. This is your host, Thomas.
And I'm the co-host, Ken. And this is the season finale of season 10 and the last episode of 2023. Damn. We're going to have a big old party here, and nothing says party like, Warren Beatty. You know, the charming, aw shucks, sexy, philandering actor, director.
Rapper? We won't get to Bulworth today necessarily, but yeah, why not go out with the bag with Beatty?
So what has Season X been about, Thomas? Tell us.
Well, it's been about too long, especially between episodes coming out. But Season X, we've looked at movies directed by people who typically are not directors. So, often that's actors. We started off with Ben Affleck. Mm-hmm. But it does venture into other territories like musicians. We did Prince and David Byrne. Mm-hmm. And makeup effects. We did Tom Savini. And so, yeah, we've covered, I had a count for this and my dyslexia kicked in and I wanted to say 16 movies, but we might have actually had more than that we've covered so far. Are you counting right now? We've covered 26 movies, including the two today.
It's 30. It's 30.
No. Oh, okay. Because I forgot about the ones that I'm not on, plus the two today.
Yeah, the Richard Price, which he technically didn't direct an episode, but we talked about that last week with Eric. He was a writer. It's been. I was looking back at my Letterboxd, and you can follow me on Letterboxd under Ken Coral. Please do. I have a list of all the movies I watched for the podcast this year. And prior to that, we had Meryl Streep. We had our 4x4. Just the variety of films and general experiences we've had this season has been fairly phenomenal. We've gone into a lot of different corners of the film universe. It's been fun, but it's also been a little exhausting.
Yeah, and there's a lot of dust bunnies in those corners and like weird pet and spouse hair. So, but yeah, today we're going to talk Warren Beatty. Stay tuned for the end of the show or skip ahead if you want to listen to us talk about Warren Beatty's the two films, Shampoo and Dick Tracy. Mm-hmm. Or as we call, for short, we'll just call this episode Dick Shampoo, I think. Because we'll have our awards at the end for those 30 movies. We have season 10 awards chosen by you, our listener.
Yeah, our listener, you are our academy. So Thank you, listener. Yeah.
Thank you for voting. And your voice was definitely heard. And will be heard at the end of the show.
Yeah. Loud and clear. I mean, it wasn't loud and clear when you were telling us to shut up or when you're doing your Fats impersonation, but.
Or your mumbles.
Yeah. Mumbles was here before the show. Mumbles from Dick Tracy.
Yeah, he had to jump off right before we started recording. He will probably not come back.
Damn it! No mums. Warren Beatty.
Yeah, it was a toss-up between Warren Beatty and Tom Green, and I know Warren Beatty as Shirley MacLaine's sibling, right? Like hottie Shirley MacLaine, sex symbol Shirley MacLaine. Her like brother or something. I think he always had a certain cachet growing up when I did. So that like Dick Tracy seemed like it was going to be this giant event. We'll talk about that a little bit more for our second film. But it seemed to me growing up that he was like a Clint Eastwood figure. Like he was just like larger than life, constantly making movies, constantly changing like popular cinema. And I don't think that's actually the case. I think I was
No.
just caught in a bubble.
No, I totally agree about Warren Beatty and growing up when I did. I'm a little older than you, but he really had this sense about him because there was the part of him, obviously the public part. He's a very private guy, but the public part is he dated a shit ton of famous ladies, including ladies from both the movies we'll be talking about today. Um, and all his movies had that kind of feeling of something important, like it's a capital C cinema movie, even if it's a comedy like Heaven Can Wait. He worked with some of the best writers, the films he directed, some of the best cinematographers. But you're right, the deeper you look, there might be less there than the public image would have us think.
Yeah, and so that's I mean, I think that looking back might have been the case because it seemed like he wrote a bit on the coattails of new cinema.
Mm-hmm.
And he is a tricky figure because you're not quite sure how it's hard to know what his thumbprint actually is as a director or as a creator.
Mm-hmm.
But he definitely put that thumb, whether or not it had prints on it, whether or not it got shaved off like in Seven, on the scales for things like Bonnie and Clyde and Shampoo,
Mm-hmm.
where a lot of those decisions are being made by your producer, which is what he was on those, and also your main star.
Yeah, and then he also, the older he got, the reputation he got for his directing style, which aired more on the Kubrick side of things, without the same result.
Well, definitely the over budget portion of it.
Yeah, he liked to do a lot of takes as well.
Yeah. Okay.
But so Beatty was somebody who I had once lobbied that we could do an entire season about. And then the first movie we're talking about, the Shampoo, not the Shampoo, just Shampoo. Hal Ashby was another one that I thought would be a good subject for a season. So I do think Beatty is. I watched a bunch more of his movies than we're talking about, and I think he's fascinating. But after watching Dick Tracy, I'm kind of done watching him for a while. So I'm glad that.
Yeah, and unfortunately, as we'll talk about in a moment, Hal Ashby didn't have a very deep filmography.
No, and it kind of went off the rails there toward the end, spectacularly. 8 Million Ways to Die. Have you ever seen it?
No.
You have to watch it. Oh my God. Anyway, let's talk about Shampoo.
It would be 8,000,001 at that point.
Yes.
Yeah. And I mean, we'll talk maybe a little bit Bulworth and Reds here in a bit. But for today, Dick Shampoo.
Yeah.
Both have a lost earring that's found.
Whoa.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
Beatty is torn between multiple women, not literally. He's not ripped in parts like Mother or something. He's
spoilers.
Oh, sorry. For next season. Beatty proposes marriage in both movies. Someone brings along a champagne glass and a bottle with them as they enter a scene, that being Madonna and the cucked rich dude as he leaves the 1968 election to get in the car with the hippies.
Jack Gordon.
Yeah. Both have women in backless dresses.
Mm-hmm.
Both have dicks. Dick Tracy and Nixon.
Yep.
Both have steam rooms.
Wow.
What? Yeah, and somebody breaks a window to get to Beatty, that being the kid, both descriptor and name, and Dick Tracy, and that chair going through the boathouse window, or wherever that is, the in Shampoo.
Yeah, Goldie Hawn. No,
So
not Goldie Hawn. It's Julie. It's wait, who was
no,
he? It was Goldie Hawn.
yeah,
And
it's
then
Goldie Hawn that finds him.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So Shampoo, 1975, the year of Iger sanction and Jaws.
Good year.
Yeah. Your first time watching this film, Ken?
No, I saw it. I think it might be the second time. I think I saw it in the late 80s, early 90s when I was getting into movies. And that was like a mid 70s new Hollywood cinema movie that you had to watch.
Oh, yeah. And then your 10th one was free?
Yeah. Then I got a free one.
Oh,
which
cool.
Turned out to be New York, New York by Martin Scorsese. So I got ripped off.
Ooh. But you get the long goodbye in there ahead of it. So that's good. This is my second viewing as well. I watched this because I wanted to watch more Hal Ashby. I said to myself, well, Harold and Maude's one of your favorite movies of all time. Why haven't you watched more? And I think I watched Being There and then this, and then I stopped.
Okay, that's not a bad trilogy of movies.
I'm gonna watch The Landlord soon.
Okay.
But,
and if you want to have a bad movie night and watch 8 Million Ways to Die with me, I will be there.
Okay.
All right.
So yeah, Ashby, director of Shampoo, the editor for Norman Jewison's The Russians Are Coming in the Heat of the Night. That's actually, he got a Academy Award for Heat of the Night. And I think I think he only got 4 nominations, 2 for editor, 2 for director, and that was the only thing that he won for.
Really?
Yeah. He was a child of some Mormon parents. They divorced during the Great Depression, and he moved to Portland, Oregon.
What?
Where his mom opened the Ashby's ice cream counter.
What?
Yeah. He then returned to live. He went back to Utah to live with his father, but his father committed suicide when he was 10, which is interesting when you think about Harold and Maude. And so, yeah, from his first movie was The Landlord, if I remember right, which Norman Jewison got him kind of hooked up to direct.
Okay.
By the time this movie came around, well, in many ways, Shampoo has like 3 creators on it. And here's a quote from Lee Grant. Warren treated him, meaning Ashby, Warren treated him like any other member of the crew. But Hal had to stay around. It was like his bargain with the devil because it was going to be a big hit.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, a lot of this movie is Beatty behind it. It's Beatty's people. He overruled Ashby on who he wanted for cinematographer. I believe he wanted Wexler.
Haskell,
yes.
and
Who's
Laszlo
the Virginia
Kovacs.
Woolf?
Yeah.
And Kovacs ended up being Beatty's person. Same thing with set design and costuming. Like all the production designer was Beatty's person instead of who Ashby wanted. And Ashby, I mean, he's known for having great soundtracks, right?
Is he?
Well, I think so. I mean, especially when you think about like Harold and Maude, right? Like he is somebody who is definitely into the music and the music of the soundtrack. And basically Warren in the studio, Beatty in the studio, Warren Beatty in the studio, nixed it. Like nixed most of his musical choices. And that's where we end up, which surprisingly you have like 2 Beatles songs in Shampoo, but like a lot of what he wanted got cut.
Wow.
So
Ashby was kind of a studio director in the old Hollywood style, where it was very much producer driven. The producer just happened to be the star as well. And this is not like new Hollywood cinema where the baby boomers are coming of age and they're the auteurs of the film. This sounds more like a producer driven film. Like the old studio system.
It was. I mean, I'd say that Ashby had the sentiments and the vibe, the groovy feelings of new cinema. I mean, of the new people coming in.
Yeah.
But was working like Norman Jewison through kind of the studio style of system. Which gets like, so the third person. So I said there were three people kind of in this film, right? Directing this film. Definitely the person with maybe the greatest pull is Beatty, followed by Ashby, followed by Townsend. I'm sorry, did I say Townsend?
Yeah.
Shit. Of course, Jack will not edit that out. Robert Town.
Not Robert Townsend. different timeline. I think Robert Townsend was probably about 10 years old when this came out.
Yeah, well, yeah. The universe where I'm from, I have enough sleep at night that recording late at night to fit both of our schedules has me say the right thing every time. So yeah, Robert Town, who Beatty had asked to like do touch-ups and punch-ups on Bonnie and Clyde, and I think something else that he was on, probably Parallax. Yeah, it was Parallax View, and had his own script for Shampoo, and Beatty had a script for Shampoo, and Hal Ashby being the director that he was, basically had them spend 10 days just fleshing out and bringing together this the best parts of both scripts, I guess, and his own small touches to create the film that we're going to talk about today.
Shampoo.
Oof. Okay.
So this was an interesting time for Beatty. Because he did Bonnie and Clyde, and that was like he was like a star then, right? And then McCabe and Mrs. Miller came out a few years after that. Parallax View, obviously one of my favorite movies. And then we get into this weird period where he really slows down and becomes like a really hands-on producer with the movies he started appearing in. His filmography gets further and further apart, particularly from this period on.
Yeah, I mean, he's also writing a lot. It seems like writing a lot more, and will start directing. So, I mean, you'll have Heaven Can Wait and Reds, which will take a long period. And so, this film itself takes 7 years to develop from when he starts writing it, when Beatty starts writing it, to come out, which is why it takes place in 1968, in a film that comes out in 1975.
So it takes place in 68 because that's when he started writing it, or is there something deeper thematically about it taking place?
Honestly, I don't think that there. I think that there is for Ashby. I think there might be for Town. I'm not so sure that there is for Beatty, even though Beatty was helping out with Robert Kennedy's campaign whenever, of course, the he here being Kennedy, was killed. And so, I mean, that definitely affected him. But I don't think that he started... I think he saw a little dissolution that happened in 68. And he was trying to capture that maybe as he's writing. But I do think that he continued to... I think his version had more modern things in it. And wasn't necessarily set in 68, and so they tried to bring it back. But I'm working a little bit off of memory here from the very meager commentary that they have on the Criterion Collection.
Really?
Yeah, it's surprisingly sparse. It's also why, I mean, one of many reasons I don't own Dick Tracy is because there's almost no special features on that disc release either.
That's the only reason you don't own Dick Tracy.
That's the only reason. I go really next to my movie Dick.
Because I always thought one of the things I liked about Shampoo is when it takes place and what the story is, and really just thinking about thematically what the movie is trying to say by placing the story of a guy who's running around trying to get money. He's lying to this guy. He's sleeping with women because he likes it, and then it all kind of crumbles for him. And we know 1968 was kind of the end of the whole hippie revolution. It lasted like a year, really. And as soon as Nixon was elected, that was kind of the outro of that whole scene. So it's interesting to think that maybe there was not a whole lot going on with that.
Yeah, I mean, I'm drawing a little bit from a book on Hal Ashby called "Being Hal Ashby." I guess that's a play off of "Being There," where there's a moment where Beatty talks about that. Okay, Beatty admitted to an interviewer, the Nixon Agnew scenes get much larger laughs than I had intended because of what had happened since. I really didn't plan it that way. And so maybe there's a dissolution with the election, but the full effect of the film is because you have Watergate happening right around the time that it's being released, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so that's the larger context of the film than just the election of Nixon at the time. So that you have the
So
irony of the distance of, and all that television stuff seems to be Hal Ashby's touch. Like he always has something going on in the background, and the what he contributed more that to like the story and the film outside of the script is having all these choice clips that he found to be playing at that moment in the scene to as a contradiction to what you're seeing going on in the foreground in the dialogue.
So it's one of those movies that if it hadn't been made specifically when it was made by the people who made it, that's the only reason it is what it is. Like if it had been made by a different director a year earlier or later, we might have had something.
I think if it came out like in 68 or 69, it would not have been successful. I mean, one of the things that is like a landmark for the film, I think, for the movie going audience is cocksucker. Or
really?
I want to suck your cock, or whatever. Yeah, that language definitely wasn't normally heard in films, and it was very rare for a woman to say it. And so it was like this liberating or this kind of shocking, titillating thing to happen in the film. But listening to the commentary and like it did, I think they originally. I can't remember where the first screening was, but it was somewhere maybe like in Orange County, and it didn't do very well. And they showed it in LA, and maybe I get that backwards, and it did extremely well. But basically, it from my sense from the commentary and what I've read, the audience was all picking up on different things and enjoying different movies in many ways and watching this. So it's not just that it was playing to all the different seats in the theater. It did seem like there was a lot you could just pull from the movie as you would want to, which is how it became Hal Ashby's most financially successful movie of any of his films. So I think it was just at the right time, the right milieu. And what's fascinating is that this film is the end of that type of film. Right, because the same year, months later, you have Jaws.
Jaws, right?
And so somehow, the other film that Hal Ashby was attached to, One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, it slipped in. But this would be the third highest-grossing film of that year.
That's impressive for a movie that's basically a grown-up movie that's rated R. To make that much money.
Yeah, I mean, it's not like One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest has the happiest of endings, but this
this one doesn't either.
That's what I was about to say. Is this has a kind of a grim ending as well?
Yeah, Very, I don't know if it's influential on my early writing, but a lot about his character and kind of how it ends up with a guy just his whole life is the one chance he had or he thought he had, he kind of fucked up, even though he might have success with Jack Warden's money. And just
Well, I
feeling
mean,
kind of, just having like a hot, sexy guy who's kind of bummed out because the girl's leaving and he's watching her leave at the end. Spoilers. Has a really early mid 20s feel to it. It's interesting. I find it interesting that Beatty is maybe almost 10 years too old to be playing this character, which I think is good, because it makes his desperation that more desperate.
yeah, that he might lose the one thing that he has, which is his looks or his sex appeal.
Yeah, it's like he's doing this maybe five years too late.
I mean, you're a big townie though, because you also get really inspired both by this film and Tough Guys Don't Dance. When he helped punch that up.
Yeah.
Okay, we've talked a lot about this script. Let me see if I can give it in 60 seconds.
Oh, I have one question before you do this. I have the thing about John Peters being the inspiration for Beatty's character. John Peters, who was a hairstylist at the Stars, and he was Barbra Streisand's pet for a while.
My spouse brought up the same thing as we were watching it, and it wasn't addressed in the commentary or my Hal Ashby book. So I'm gonna. I don't know if it matters.
It was just a time period where a hairstylist could be that. Maybe that's all it was. I can't imagine one being that now.
And I haven't seen the Adam Sandler movie where he's a hairstylist. So maybe we'll have to circle back.
Or Licorice Pizza, where Bradley Cooper plays John Peters. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then John Peters went on to make, billions of dollars off of producing Batman?
Well.
All right, hit me with your 60 seconds, Thomas.
You want shampoo in 60 seconds?
I want you to put
marketing copy, right?
I want you to put the plot in your hair and let it sit for 60 seconds.
And then repeat?
I'm going to rinse it out. Maybe with some conditioner.
All right. Shampoo. Warren Beatty plays George Rundy in a graphic and revealing depiction of a little-known demographic suppressed and made shameful in the Nixon-Agnew era of America, what may be known as the ultimate credit risk, the straight hairdresser. In the course of about a day on Election Eve 1968, George has sex with multiple women, and not for money. His girlfriend Jill, played by Goldie Hawn, can't decide whether to leave George for the opportunity to shoot a commercial in Japan, unaware that George failed to get a bank loan and will be pursuing a local rich dude named Lester Karpf for a loan, as well as Lester's wife, Felicia, played by Lee Grant. We open the movie with them fucking. His daughter, Lorna, played by 17-year-old Carrie Fisher, whom he balls minutes before laying pipe again to Lee Grant in the room next door in the middle of the day in a subtle tug-of-war between the women, and his mistress, Jackie, played by Julie Christie, and with whom George had once been in a relationship. In the end, Nixon is elected, moneybags Lester and his girlfriend Jill, played by Goldie Hawn, find George giving good dick to Jackie at a party, and George realizes he's adrift and wants to marry Jackie, only to arrive too late. She's running away with Lester, who may likely invest in George's hopes for a salon. And do you know what the prime mortgage rate was then? 6 3/4. Wow, indeed. We won't go back to those old days anymore.
That was pretty good. Lee Grant. We need to mention that we did an episode on Lee Grant. We as an actor in Columbo and What Sex Am I, the documentary she did. And we had originally talked about Shampoo, but then again, I was thinking we might do a Beatty season or an Ashby season, and we ended up just combining the two for this episode. But she's great and won the Oscar for very little screen time here. It's almost like we're sorry for the for the communist blackballing that we gave you for those decade and a half. Here's an Oscar. Yeah,
and she almost walked off this set. I think we might have mentioned it in the Lee Grant episode. If not, it's definitely in her autobiography that we read for it. But yeah, this is her third of 4 nominations and her only win. And I can't remember what Beatty was taking exception to. It was some type of reaction that she was having, like one of her depictions, and she told Hal, like, "Hey, this is what I'm going to do, and I guess it's not okay." And so she was walking off, and then Beatty reconsidered. And
it was something about her having a reaction as a woman coming from being a woman, and Beatty didn't know what he was talking about, being a man. That was the gist of the anecdote, I believe.
Yeah.
And Beatty came to his senses, and she's great here. And her cheekbones, pretty fantastic.
Yeah, she has really amazing eye work.
Yeah.
From the drops whenever she's first like talking to her husband to in the restaurant. And I mean, and her reaction shots during the blowjob scene in the restaurant help sell everything, I think.
Yeah. I'm a big Lee Grant fan. So the thesis statement of this movie is, I don't fuck anyone for money, I fuck for fun. It's almost like he says that as much as Leonardo DiCaprio says, I like money in Killers of the Flower Moon. But is he saying that because he means it, or is he saying it because he's afraid it's not true?
Well, I would say, but the context of him saying that is his ex, whom he just found out is sleeping with Lester, who definitely isn't as attractive as Warren Beatty.
Yeah.
And so it does seem like she is exclusively doing it for money, which also equates to security in a lot of places in this film.
Mm-hmm.
Which is one of the reasons he's insecure around Goldie Hawn's character as well. So he doesn't seem to be girlfriending. Did I use that right? The verb on there, boyfriending? No, girlfriend. Jill, Goldie Hawn's character, for money at all.
No.
And so I would say that, yeah, it does seem like he definitely does it. He also doesn't seem to have a lot of resources. And it's not like he fucks Lester. So I would say, and it doesn't also, nor is he like having sex with the owner of the salon. So I would say that I do think that he genuinely believes that he genuinely believes that he's having an enjoyable time, and that money is something that shouldn't be a part of that that conversation, transaction, or connection with another person.
Yeah, I'm surprised of the 2 movies we're talking about that the other one won more Oscars than this one. But Jack Warden as Lester was nominated. It might be one of my favorite Jack Warden performances outside of probably The Verdict. He is really funny. There is a moment where he is talking to his wife, and he intimates that Warren Beatty, because he's a hairdresser, is gay. And he does a little flip of his hand, like a fey flip. And then he almost immediately grabs his arm like he hurt it. And comedically, it's so hard to pull that off without overdoing it. I just loved every scene he was in. Warden is great. I don't know what you think of his performance, but
no, I enjoyed it. Yeah, he walks this line between commanding, sinister, and pathetic, which is really hard to pull off.
Yeah. Great performance. And one thing Beatty in most of these movies I've been watching this past week and a half, he is such the camera really likes him, but he doesn't do a whole lot. And he feels really generous as an actor and director of letting other people get the best stuff. And that's pretty apparent here as well.
I just had to look it up. I guess because I was like, Jack Warden, you said The Verdict, you meant 12 Angry Men. No, he's in both.
Yeah. No, he plays kind of Paul Newman's mentor. He's great. He plays the Burgess Meredith, Paul Newman's Rocky and The Verdict.
Yeah, I don't have a favorite Warden,
Mhm.
but I do appreciate his. Because yeah, I think he could also come off as schmarmy or like sleazy, and like everything just seems kind of like matter of fact to him, but not in a way
Mhm.
that's completely distant. Like there's some amount of motion, and like also when he's like, I guess packing up the dogs, and at the very end, tending to his mistress. Julie Christie's character Jackie, where he's like, it does seem like he has something genuine there, like how much that's lust or whatever it might be. Like he does, uh,
It's a bit of
as lost as George is in this, Lester is as well, but Lester's just older and established.
and there. I mean, Beatty's character essentially fucks what his wife, daughter, and mistress in the same day.
Yeah,
And Warden pretty much knows this at the end, but
I don't know if he
he's
knows about
so
his daughter.
probably not the daughter, but he's such a pragmatist. He's like he thinks he can make money off him, so he's still going to get in business with him. Um, I think it's the best written role in the movie, and I think Warden's great in it. Gets a lot to play with anyway. I'm a big fan of Goldie Hawn in this movie as well.
I mean, I really enjoy the scene in the barbershop where she's coming to get George and explain to him that she needs to make a decision, and just his flusterness is
Hmm.
being flustered to try and like work and talk to her at the same time, and just not registering anything because he's uh, uh, what's a guy bimbo.
A
A
himbo,
Gimbo? A himbo.
himbo,
Yeah, he's a
himbo.
himbo.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's a himbo.
Hmm.
Uh, is just some great timing. It just reminds me, like, yeah, she got her start kind of with Laugh-In and other pieces of just great comedy.
Yeah, this almost feels like a template that the Safdie brothers would take and then just like start shaking the camera and make it twice as anxiety inducing. Where you have a really compressed period of time and you have a guy who is having to progress through all these different other people to try and make some money, and he's talking
I
to one person. And go ahead.
I don't know. I don't know because the stakes seem like impossibly low for him. Like he doesn't know what the stakes are, and he has no real investment in his own life. I think the movie almost meanders. Maybe if we cut him on his motorcycle out more, like a Jar Jar Binks thing for episode 1, like it'd be a better film. Uh, but yeah, it doesn't. There's a tautness that I would hope for in this film that's not there.
I like meandering movies. Maybe I'm just I prefer this over a taut, almost thriller atmosphere of heightened anxiety. Um,
But as the comedy doesn't quite hit for me.
I don't think
th-
I wouldn't consider this a comedy. I don't know
I
why
think
it's
that they
called a
call it.
comedy.
Well, I mean, only like in the Shakespearean sense, to my mind, is it a comedy of like, oh, they're gonna get married at the end, and then they don't.
Yeah.
But it's also maybe because it has so much sex in it. I think that the interesting thing is the sex is I think treated pretty well. Like it's not lurid.
Hmm.
Um, the most uncomfortable of the sex scenes that could have been we don't see at all, and that's with the 17-year-old daughter.
Hmm.
It's just intimated by her walking out of the shower fully clothed. Um, and so the movie isn't uh, scintillating, or in the sense of like trying to be a. It's not a sex comedy, right? In the same way that an 80s sex comedy, if I said those words together, you have an image in your head of like guys looking through peepholes into the women's locker and love like lewd, rapey stuff.
Mm-hmm.
This film instead has women who want men. Like he's almost never the aggressor, is he? Aside from maybe
No.
in the the pool house, whatever it is, the boathouse.
Yeah, that's what makes it a little bit of a fantasy. I mean, I don't know if Aquanet is the original Viagra, but that's a lot in one day.
Like, yeah, I mean, I need a recharge. I don't know if I could do it. No matter how much the gonorrhea is telling me, you got to keep spreading me. I don't know if uh if I'd be able to perform.
I did go out and buy a bottle of Aquanet and try and huff it after this movie, see if it would work, and I just passed out.
Gummo style with a paper bag and a ditch.
Yep.
Uh I yeah, I don't think I could regularly recommend this film to anybody. Maybe as like a historical piece. Um Maybe if you've watched Being There, Coming Home, maybe The Landlord, I'll find out soon.
I
Harold
think I
Ramad
think
and wanted to continue it on.
I don't think this. I think it's successful at what it is. I don't think it necessarily climbs the echelon of all time great meaningful movies, but as an important piece of studio cinema, particularly in the great era of the '70s, I think it's kind of essential because as much as you might be disappointed in what it is, given the fact that this was made with one of the biggest stars in the world at the time, Warren Beatty, and it came out through a studio, and given its content, it's remarkable that this was a popular film people went out and saw.
I mean, it's an artifact, and Ghost was a popular film that people went out and saw. I don't know if I could recommend people watching Ghost.
Yeah, but Ghost
American Beauty
was a product.
won Best Picture in '99, right? But I don't know if I could recommend people watch.
I'm talking of the era of studios just letting people make the movies they wanted to make, and the audiences going out and seeing them. Ghost is a product of a pure studio system. Armageddon is the same way. But as an artifact of the '70s, that great era of the '70s that people always say was the best ever, and I think it was. I think this is an important part of it.
Well, I think it has some fun '70s touches, like so there's a dinner scene. You have the mistress, Beatty's character, Lester, his wife, there, along with George Beatty's character's girlfriend, Goldie Hawn, who's there with a different date. And
Jermaine Clement from Flight of the Conchords.
No, it's not him. But that actor, I guess, according to the Criterion Collection, often played Beatty-esque roles. And so having him there was a little bit like having like store brand Warren Beatty with Warren Beatty. So all of a sudden in that scene, all of a sudden the senator starts reciting some type of maybe First Nations like story, or maybe something that he was related to elsewhere. Hello, Garden Gate. Hello, Garden Gate. Garden Gate. Hello. And then he starts chanting, and then the room's evacuated for reasons that we don't know. Like Secret Service shows up, and we don't know what happens. And that's like for me, that's an interesting like '70s style move or maneuver in a plot. It's just to have something semi-random happen and never trying to explain it, and just to shift where you're at and to move things around.
It does. It sounds like something that happened to one of the people behind the script, and they thought it was a great thing to include to move from point A to point B. Yeah, you're right. It's great.
And so that for that reason, yeah, I think it's a great piece of '70s cinema, like capturing that aesthetic or that idea of things. The subtleness, like it's a film that you should be watching more than once, probably, because if you want to pick up on some of the background details, that is something that Ashby's kind of known for. The salon owner whenever he calls Beatty to the side, talking to him about coffee and needing to charge for it at the very beginning, there is a picture of his son who will die at the very end of the film in a way that's, and again, like in a 70s way, mentioned kind of briefly in passing. And then how Warren Beatty's character George keeps his job, who fucking knows? He's never in that. He's in that salon like for seconds, and then he's gone again.
And it does go to the fact that Warren Beatty is not a method actor, because there's no way that guy studied hairdressing. Did, unless you're going to tell me he did. If Dustin Hoffman, his buddy Hoffman, was playing this role,
Rambo,
you know, he would have spent 3 months as a hairstylist, and he would have it down. I did not believe for a minute Beatty has ever cut anybody's hair. Although, given how bad Julie Christie's hair looked after he was done with it, I'm not so sure.
What if he's like, you look like a prostitute or something, let me do your hair, and then she looks at it, and then I'm like, I don't know if that is good or worse. I don't know if it's better or worse.
Or exactly the same.
Okay, because whenever she meets Lee Grant's character, when they run into each other at the party at the restaurant, it looks a little bit like their hair's cut the same. Am I wrong about that? Okay.
No.
And so I just don't know if that is the best haircut at the time, or like everybody's getting a Rachel or something. Or if it's he just wants if he was like, oh, he's so dumb, he doesn't realize he's replicating the hair that he just did for his other sexual partner. Anyway, it's kind of amusing.
Yeah. So I mean, I think this movie is fairly I like it, and I don't know if I'm ever going to watch it again. I think it's pretty mid-level, but I think as part of a piece of the great 70s movie puzzle. I think it's essential on that. And I am fascinated by Warren Beatty and how little he does, and how little his acting varies from the movies I've watched the last few weeks, other than Ishtar, which I think he's fucking great in.
Yeah.
He's kind of exactly the same, even as Dick Tracy. He is the same as Dick Tracy as he is as Johnny Shampoo in Shampoo.
And close. I mean, I haven't watched all of Reds, but a little bit as the guy from Portland in Reds. Only thing that's different about Bulworth is that he has like a midlife crisis and he's older.
Well, we'll talk about it. I don't know if I'm going to talk about it all, other than saying I watched Town and Country, the movie that was so bad and so ruinous to so many people that he didn't make another movie for 14 years. I watched it last week. And again, he plays the exact same character. They replay plot points from Shampoo that Buck Henry was hired to do rewrites for Town and Country. It is one of the all-time great bad movies, and I recommend everybody to watch it if you're a lover of movies made by really talented people for a whole bunch of money that are just fucking terrible.
And if you want to watch a movie that's not terrible but has a terrible reputation, unfairly, watch Ishtar.
I watched it. That was the first Beatty I watched when we were going to do this, and I hadn't seen it before. And I don't like the ending, but it was really funny. I was surprised how it's probably one of my favorite Beatty performances, because he's dumb, and he plays dumb really well.
And he's not just dumb; he's dumb with a great supporting, equally billed actor. Like him and Hoffman at the same. You have to have both of those people in there, I think, for that movie to work.
Mm-hmm.
You have to have the pretty one, which is Hoffman, according to the movie, and Beatty, both being kind of peas in a pod dummies. For it to work.
It's weird. The movie I thought of watching Ishtar was Bad Boys, where they had Martin Lawrence and Will Smith, and they kind of flopped the roles that you would expect them to play, and how well it worked for two of those movies anyway. But Ishtar is great. Unfairly maligned.
Yeah, so to go back to Shampoo, I would agree with you that it's mid. That if you do need that one more uh, stamp on your 70s card, this probably is a good contribution to that. I mean, I would put Parallax View and a lot of other things ahead of it, but
Mm-hmm.
it does fill in a little bit of a gap there. I don't plan on ever watching it again. Having watched it twice, I think is sufficient.
I agree, but I think I err on the positive side of the experience. And if you are getting that punch card, you know what you win at the end. A cold gray morning where you're staring off and you've lost everything. So get those punch cards filled, kids.
Man, 70s cinema.
It's the fucking greatest.
Well, what's weird about this film is that it does like have a hint of the 80s in there, just with the bank loan and the idea of monetizing yourself, and like that there's like I feel like a cusp, or like just right on the edge of kind of like that moment in Boogie Nights where you shift over to 1980. Like the darkness is coming, like this is bad, this is weird, but like something else is going to happen.
Yeah, and I am fascinated by how Beatty, in a way, kind of revisits this era of culture in Bulworth in particular. Um, you know, 25 years later. I think he's still playing with a lot of the themes from the era of Shampoo.
Yeah, well, to Beatty's mind, according to the interviews that he did, one of the interviews that's on the Criterion Collection, the whole reason, like his idea of what Shampoo is a movie about exposing hypocrisy. And so you have this hypocrisy about money, and you have this hypocrisy about sex, and the movie is trying to show you those hypocrisies.
Hmm.
Both he and Town had written a coda for this film, like a scene that would take place like in 75. And fortunately, Hal Ashby was able to like delay some stuff or like do some type of like passive aggressive finagling so that they never would add it to it. Instead, he could end it like he ends Harold Ahmad up on a high cliff somewhere looking out in the distance.
Love it. Such a great fucking ending. Was the ending they had Beatty standing before a mirror, all strung out on coke, naked?
What's that from?
Either Boogie Nights or Raging Bull.
Oh, okay. Classic.
Oh, he's not naked in Raging Bull, but same difference.
Bright shining star is what he said to himself.
Okay. That was great. Shampoo. Go see it, kids. You'll love it.
Don't get it in your eyes; it'll sting.
Mm-hmm. Is that it? We're gonna take a break.
Yeah, let's take a break, and I guess when we come back, maybe we'll have some quizzes or games.
Yeah, and then we're gonna talk about a few other movies in Beatty's filmography before we talk about Dick Tracy. Can we do that?
Well, it's our final episode of season 10. I
Do what the
say
fuck we want.
we just stretch this motherfucker out. I don't have to sleep tonight. I'm waking up in about 6 hours.
Me too. Let's do it.
All right.
Tracy, Tracy, Tracy.
Is that Big Boy?
Tracy.
I thought you're no longer part of the Atlanta-based rap group I cannot think of right now.
Migos?
No. Fuck. Big
Outcast?
Boy. Yes.
That's pretty good. I got it in 2 guesses, man. That shows my bona fides, my bona fides when it comes to rap music. As everybody listening is probably not surprised. All right.
Well, wait. Will you give some Bullworth flows for the remainder of the episode?
I'm going to do the rest of it in rhyme, dude. No. So, Bulworth, I do think thematically feels like an extension of some of the stuff in Shampoo. And that was so interesting watching them pretty much back to back, but I watched Bulworth first. Um, and Bulworth is such a weird movie. It doesn't seem like one that could have been made any other time in the history of the world, other than the
Yeah.
2 minutes. Other than the 2 minutes where the studio head was like, "Okay, I'll greenlight this." Like if they had asked him 5 minutes later, after he had some like a salad stuck in his teeth or some Coke stuck in his nose, he would have said no.
I mean, I feel
Um,
like the same is true of Freddy Got Fingered.
yeah, but
Or, or
Bulworth is like a
Dennis Leary
big
being in a
movie.
bunch of films somehow. Like I think he actually had more than a second because Dennis Leary's like in Demolition Man and The Ref and a few other things.
Uh-huh.
So or Andrew Dice Clay being in a few films. Yeah, but it really is like this narrow, like 6-month window or something of like politics of like post. Because I feel like with BLM recently,
Mhm.
going back and watching movies from the '90s, like early '90s, there was like a change happening in the early '90s in American culture, an awareness that seems to like skip for like 30 years. Is my math there right? 10, yeah, for
Sure.
15, 20, 30 years. Uh, and this is like right after that. This is like the backlash Clinton era shit that um he's in the midst of this weird milieu where yeah, I have no idea how Bulworth was like made any money, was greenlit, made any money. Well, anybody thought it was a good idea. But I think in the moments that they were shooting it, like it was probably a decent, smart script for somebody. I don't know.
Uh-huh. It is also that was at the time where Clinton and the baby boomers had essentially won. Neoliberalism had conquered everything, and we were post-racial. Everybody was going to get a piece of the pie. Um, and Bulworth coming along and pretty much just poking its finger into that during that peak um, is so weird because I was not expecting that type of movie coming out in that period. Like if it came out during the Bush administration, it makes sense, right? The George W.
Uh,
Bush administration. But during the Clinton administration, it was kind of like we got all we wanted and it still sucks. And you could see his depression and wanting to kill himself.
what I think the movie isn't like I don't think they put hang a bright enough lantern on it, but I think he wants to kill himself because of he made bad choices in like I don't know soy futures or something, and then a black hat hacker came around and did something.
I was gonna
No,
say.
no, but I think he has like bad investments is what's going on, and then he's going to kill himself for the money, for the insurance money, and he has the insurance lobby there, and it's all part of like his darkness. And you know what, I don't want to talk about Bulworth. It is not. It's almost an unwatchable movie.
It
It's not.
is
It's not completely cringe, but It's like you're.
dude, it is one of the most watchable for the wrong reasons. I would put Town and Country, which came out what a year after that, year or two after that, or was made right after it. They are they're both so terrible, but so compelling. I did not enjoy Bulworth. I thought it was fascinating. I loved it, even though it's terrible. I don't care. It's great. Terrible movies can be great, Thomas.
Yeah, it's not it's not quite a hate watch. No, it is it's just yeah, it really is fascinating in a way that
It's a
like
what the
Shampoo.
fuck watch.
Yeah,
I
it
love it.
absolutely is. It absolutely is. You're just scratching your head the entire time wondering why what they think they're accomplishing, but also I don't know why they think it would like how this plays outside of like a weird Holly. Yeah, the level of reality it's supposed to be. Um,
Okay.
ah,
Do you want me to do my season 10 quiz before we start talking Dick Tracy?
wait a minute. Wait. I'm having a thought. Oh yes. I'm going to have a thought. It's coming. It's coming. Gone.
Wow, Michael Lerner as Lipnick from Barton Fink. Pretty good. I want to put those two performances side by side.
Oh, that'd be interesting.
They're almost the same.
One and one definitely wasn't in makeup for as long. So maybe should have been. No, no, he's great. I love him. Yeah, let's do your quiz.
Okay, I'm going to start off with a recent one, Warren Beatty. Beatty.
Wait, should people call in, or is it just for me?
No, it's just for you.
Okay.
Warren Beatty famously said what? A. Shirley MacLaine, she's kind of nuts. B. I've seen Nicholson fuck, and you, Danny Elfman, are no Jack Nicholson. C. Heaven can wait, but I've got a raging boner. Or D. La La Land.
He didn't. Oh, okay. I think he said all of those things.
Okay,
and none of them at the right time.
All right, so for all of season 10, the best science fiction / horror film: A. The Postman, it's post-apocalyptic. B. Dawn of the Dead, classic. C. Star Trek: First Contact.
Ooh.
Or D. Madonna acting. Which was the most? Who was the most fondly remembered late actor in our season 10 as voted by our listener? A. Paul Newman in The Color of Money, got an Oscar. B. Ray Liotta in Cocaine Bear. C. Peter Fonda in The Maldonado Miracle. Or D. The giant penis AB came out of in Cremaster 3.
Oh. Wait, so the giant penis died?
Sadly enough, yeah.
Oh, boy.
It was made out of wax, and it went outside in the Utah sun and whoosh, melted. Okay, best performance by a beloved supporting actor. A. David Keith in Men at Work. I think we both liked him in that, right?
Yeah.
B. John Goodman in both True Stories and Sea of Love. Anne Ramsey, classically in Throw Mama from the Train. Or D. Anne Margaret's boobs in Magic.
Or they should be in the Louvre, right? So
yes. Best film about the end of the world. A. Wet Hot American Summer. The meteor. B. Postman again. C. Dawn of the Dead. D. Repo Man. Or E. Tough Guys Don't Dance. Okay, and for best cinematography or editing that we saw, Under the Cherry Moon, Michael Bauhaus's photography, terrible movie, beautiful. Color of Money, also Michael Bauhaus, he was on a roll. Dick Tracy by the great Vittorio Storaro. Untouchables, shot by Stephen Burham. Richard Marx, the editor for Dick Tracy, for cutting around almost all of Madonna's dialogue.
Wow, I didn't realize we were going to pile on Madonna. I'm going to have to defend her.
Madge can take it. She knows I love her. Most heartwarming moment in all of season 10. Numerous moments in What Sex Am I? As the people we are following grapple with identity in a time where gender was taboo. B. Ruin Blades and Mayor Whittingham's tender romance coming together in The Maldonado Miracle. C. The slap fight in Postman. Or D. The bee coming out of the tip of a penis in Cremaster 3.
I'm really surprised you focused on that versus the clear corset and vaginal penetration of Cremaster.
Okay, and my last one. Which film would be the most improved with Fats the Dummy from Magic replacing the lead? A. Ryan O'Neal in Tough Guys Can't Dance.
Yeah. Stop, right?
That's it. That's all I got.
Oh, I'm trying to imagine that now. Like, why does he have shaving cream on his on the mirror?
Oh God! Oh no! Oh gosh! Oh no!
Yeah,
Oh,
Robert Towne
Fats.
wrote that. That was his contribution. He punched that up.
Yep. Yep. When
Oh.
he dies, his tombstone will say Chinatown and Tough Guys Don't Dance. In parentheses, rewrite.
Oh, wow. Are we ready to talk about the film that nobody wanted in 1990, Dick Tracy?
Yeah, the last film ever to use the sodium vapor process, often referred to as yellow screen, mostly used in Disney films of the 1950s and 1960s.
Really? Last
You could
one?
see it at almost, yeah, last one ever.
Huh.
That's about the most interesting thing about this movie. No.
Well, so 1990, you have Men at Work and Night of the Living Dead. So we hadn't talked about the remake. So we hadn't talked about any other films prior to this season that took place in 1990, and now we have 3. Oh, wait, no, that's not true. We did Postcards from the Edge and Wild at Heart.
Yay.
Oh, and White Hunter, Black Heart, and The Rookie. Yeah.
Jesus Christ. 1990 was packed with something.
Wild times at the theaters. One movie that we didn't do in 1990, Rob Reiner, a director or actor who we didn't cover this season, had a big film that year that stars somebody in this film. It was adapted by William Goldman.
Yeah. That's right.
And originally they'd offered the role that would originally go to James Caan, yeah, to Warren Beatty, and also in this film Dustin Hoffman, and also in this film Al Pacino.
Insane. Yeah, it's like The Irishman without Warren Beatty.
Misery. Misery was also this year.
Misery's a good movie. I rewatched it last year, and as a big studio thriller, it totally holds up. It's great. Probably William Goldman's really best last big time screenplay.
And I think he was just coming out. I think it was just coming out of publishing that book, Jail, with Misery, if I remember right. Like it was his return.
Mm-hmm.
And
yeah, it's a good one.
And also, like, apparently Stephen King and other people didn't think it was adaptable. I haven't read the book, but they were like, there's no way to make this into a film.
Rob Reiner, god damn, that guy went on a run. We're not talking about Rob Reiner.
No, we were talking about Beatty's 1990 film. So
Dick Tracy.
Okay, help me out. There was Batman, and then they said, you know what we need is Dick Tracy. Because he wasn't the first person to be assigned, like there wasn't the studio's first pick for director, if I remember right.
No, and Chester Gould, the creator of Dick Tracy, and who was the primary writer and artist for decades, had a lot to do with the film not getting made before it was made in 1990, because earlier versions, he wanted too much control and wanted too much money. A creator wanting money for something being made off him? What a crazy idea.
Alan Moore, shut the fuck up.
Then once he died, his family is like, hey, sure, man. We want to move out of this double wide, so give us some of that Hollywood cash.
Did you follow any of the comics? Have you read any of the comics? I was surprised to learn that Dick Tracy goes to space for a while.
It has like a stepdaughter with antennae and magnetic hands and flying cars. And then in the late 60s, he was a bit of a Nixon Law and Order type against the hippies. There was some crazy shit in the Dick Tracy comic strip. I did a deep dive last night. And then in the late 70s, after Gould stopped doing Gould, keep thinking of Elliot Gould. Max Allan Collins started writing it. He's a fairly famous in some circles, mystery writer and writer of cartoon strips and comic books and novels. Yeah, and he hated this script, and some of the work he did after the movie was dialogue dubbed in, because he wrote the adaptation the tie-in novel.
Oh, he did.
The writing of this is just crazy of how many versions it went through and how Warren Beatty himself bought the rights to it in '83 after an aborted attempt to make a film written by one of the writers of Superman and Superman 2, Tom Mankiewicz, if that's how you pronounce it. They eventually went to a script written by Jim Cash and Jack Epps Jr., who are kind of like David Koepp, if David Koepp were two people in the 1980s.
Oh, the Top Gun people?
Uh-huh.
Okay.
Yeah. Terrible writers, but work really well in the studio system. You could see a lot of their fingerprints over the slightest of plots for this movie. Bo Goldman, two-time Oscar winner, multiple Oscar nominee, did an uncredited rewrite with Beatty. And they went through WGA arbitration and lost. So Epps and Cash get their names as the only writers for Dick Tracy. Residuals, that might be good, but if you watch this movie, maybe not. And yeah, you probably know that there were lots of different actors and directors who they were discussing for this. Clint Eastwood was one. Harrison Ford, obviously.
At playing Dick Tracy, not as the director of it, I don't think.
And it kind of, the background of this movie and the different directors, like John Landis was probably the primary one.
Oh, that'd been good. Or better.
It would have been, but he was caught up in the Twilight Zone trial at the time.
Oh, sure.
Which is the main reason he didn't do it. But kind of like Dick Cheney being the head of finding a vice presidential candidate for George W. Bush, Warren Beatty, the producer and owner of the rights and wanting to play Dick Tracy, ended up directing it himself. That kind of stuff happens sometimes in Hollywood. Sean Young famously was cast as Tess Trueheart and dropped out or was fired, and later claimed that it was because she wouldn't bone Warren Beatty. I don't know how you feel about that. Madonna.
I'm glad that she didn't. What do you mean? What do you mean? What kind of rhetorical question is that, kid?
Well, I mean, it's just
obviously she should have. No.
I didn't mean it that way.
Oh,
I just meant that it's one of those things. I don't know how it makes you feel about Beatty. I don't know how you feel about Sean Young. She seems like a lovely lady. She very much speaks for her own mind, and I think that's a dangerous thing in Hollywood. She's probably I believe her. Probably the worst creative decision on a whole list of creative decisions that I'm not a big fan of is Danny Elfman doing the score.
Didn't they have 3 soundtracks to this?
They did, yeah. And it sounds exactly like Batman. It has nothing to do with what you're seeing on screen. It literally sounds like he put in a tape of the Batman soundtrack and then he got paid a butt ton of money for it. I'm not a big Danny Elfman fan. Recently, Danny Elfman has been accused of all kinds of sordid things. And it turns out he has a kink where he likes laying in bed naked next to a fully clothed woman. I forget what the kink is called, but the second I heard that,
marriage.
I never went. I wish I had a drum to, but anyway, good Lord, Vittorio Storaro, one of the craziest great cinematographers of the era, who only has like 14 or 15 movies to his credit, literally goes nuts with this movie and the production design. It kind of fried my eyeballs a little bit. I don't know about you.
I think that he should have his 3 previous Academy Awards stripped from him. Hal Ashby got an award for editing. They didn't put his name on it, and so he gave it to Jack Nicholson whenever Jack Nicholson didn't win for the film that he collaborated with Hal Ashby on. And I think that they should have the names on those not etched. I think they should just be erasable so that you get it taken away whenever you make this film.
Yeah, and this is the era of after Batman. I mean, you had people thought anything from the 1930s that you kind of quasi-update You had like The Phantom, The Shadow, and then this movie really made you rethink if Tim Burton's Batman was a good idea or not.
But
And
then you have
it
Joel
feels like it's.
Schumacher's Batman, and you're like, yes, definitely was.
We're not going to get into the Schumacher debate, man. I'm not going to let you bait me to that, Thomas. This feels like a movie where I know Cash and Ep said we read every Dick Tracy comic strip from 1933 to 1963 before we wrote this script. But it really feels like people who think it's silly, and I think the difference between these adaptations that work and don't work is the people making them when they work really love the material. And I'm shocked to hear that Warren Beatty grew up loving Dick Tracy comic strip and that this was the movie version he made of it. It feels like people who are really dismissive of the form they are adapting.
Okay.
And,
Well, let's maybe we save that a little bit for the reaction because
okay.
I think we've covered he went to space. He had Groovy Grove as his sidekick. Did you watch any of the Dick Tracy specials that Beatty's done since to keep the rights? The weird one with is it Madeline?
You sent it to me. I was at work when I got that, and
Yeah.
I started watching it, and I said, "I'm going to get caught, and I'm going to get fired."
I can't drive this bus with all these children on it while watching this video. Yeah. Okay. Mm-hmm. It's terrible, but I mean, he's in. I guess the only thing that he delivers an interview to with Leonard Maltin. As
what year was
Dick
that?
That was 2010.
Really?
And he pretends that he is Dick Tracy the entire time. And he talks about how they made a movie about him in the 90s. And he's like, yeah, that guy looks a lot like me. But it's so weird. It's unwatchably bland and weird and unnecessary. But it was enough to have him maintain the rights, which is what the whole reason for doing it was.
So at one point, Scorsese was and Beatty were talking about Scorsese possibly directing a version. This was earlier in the 80s. And he wanted to take it into, it would be a modern style comic strip adaptation, which was grittier, darker. I mean, it's about a cop and about a bunch of freaks running a city. Actually, Scorsese sounds like a pretty good director for that. I'm so fascinated by the ideas they had for the look of this film.
Yeah. Do you have a 60-second? Is there enough plot to couple together for 60 seconds?
Let me take a drink and I will see. Hold on.
Are you going to do this? Oh, wait, while you're drinking, will Fats come in and do it?
Hey, you schmucks. Okay. Hang on.
Wait, you like walnuts, right?
Do you like the 4 primary colors?
Which ones are those?
Blue,
I thought there were 3.
Red, yellow, green. Green is a mixture of 2 of those. So the plot is Dick Tracy wears yellow, is in a town full of freaks. The only light in the town apparently is green light, and that's not the stoplights. And there is a bad guy played by Al Pacino, and a mall played by Madonna, and Tess Trueheart, and an orphan, and the mob guy's trying to take over the rackets, and Dick Tracy's trying to stop them. And there's a montage of them, Dick Tracy shooting guns and attacking people, and it looks exactly like a gum commercial for some reason.
Gum or gun?
Gum, G-U-M. It looks like it's shot like a gum commercial. Like it could be an Orbit gum commercial.
What kind of commercials are you watching that have gum? Do you get targeted ads for gum?
I'm saying the bright colors and the editing style.
Got it.
I'm not talking about the gun. I'm not talking about the shooting.
Got it. I'm with you now.
The filmmaking style. And I would tell you how it ended, but I fell asleep with 10 minutes left and I didn't feel bothered to watch the end.
Oh, you jacked it.
I did. So this might be the first time I jacked a movie.
Oh my goodness, like father like son.
right?
Or like son like father?
And I watched this over 3 days because I would start watching it and I go like, how much is how much is left in this? And I'd pause it and I go like, you gotta be fucking kidding me. How is there an hour and 40 minutes left? Um, so it was a slog.
First viewing?
I saw it when it came out in 1990, and this is my second viewing.
Did you watch it? Did you project it? Or did you pay money to go
No,
see it?
I paid money to go see it.
This is my first time actually watching it. I'd watched the making of on television.
That's weird.
Well, why? Because it was television. It was just there in my house. It got beamed in. They did a lot of those. I remember watching one for Bryan Singer's X-Men as well, as late as like 9?
As late as like 10 o'clock because it can't be on the family hour if Bryan Singer's involved.
The Jack, return his email. No, don't. No, do. No, don't. Man, we have to bleep out if we tell that story, don't we?
Yeah.
Okay. We'll just leave it out. But no, there were often like these hour-long, maybe if I remember right, like television specials about the making of films as like
They
a
were
promo
great.
for them. And I remember watching the Dick Tracy one and thinking, I don't need to see that. But I watched, I think, the whole thing.
And
the making of? I don't remember, man. That was 30 years ago.
So so for Storaro and Beatty, I mean, Storaro shot Reds, which is a great fucking looking movie. Ishtar, which is a gorgeous movie.
Yeah.
Ishtar might look too good for a comedy. I always think that comedies don't look good enough as far as cinematography goes. Ishtar might look so good that it might confuse people, and that might be part of the problem.
I could see that because especially if you look at the other comedies at the time, right? They're usually lower budget. He did the
Ishtar's fucking gorgeous movie. He did Dick Tracy, obviously, and then Bulworth.
A bunch of Coppola movies and a Giallo, right? The Bird with the Crystal Plumage.
Yeah, and he worked with Bertolucci 3 or 4 times. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
One of the best, and everybody has that skeleton in the closet, and this might be his.
Okay, so let's the plot seems like it actually doesn't seem all that bad. I mean, it seems like kind of paint by numbers.
It's generic. It's really lazy, is what it feels like.
It's really lazy. But if we just take the plot itself, it's paint by numbers. And it's a structure. It's a backbone. It's something that somebody could latch on to as an audience member and go, okay, there's a mysterious person we don't know what side they're on. They have a blank face. There's a power play. There's the commission of the same thing that you see, like, what is it, season 3 of The Wire, where they all sit down around the table. There's all the normal things that you would expect in a kind of crime movie. So that I don't think is necessarily bad. When you start to get the dialogue on top of that, and then you start to try and figure out what's the crime, like Dick Tracy shoots people and kills people in this film with like a glee of like a pre-code era like gangster.
But then he has to catch Al Pacino, and Al Pacino is worried about killing Tracy and people blaming it on him. The motivations do seem like a 4-panel comic strip where you would explain their motivation like on Monday. And then by Friday in that comic strip, they would be fighting. So maybe they got that part right. I don't know.
So the dialogue is wild where like, you like walnuts. Oh, I'm sorry. Dick Tracy's like, you like walnuts, right? Is that Al Pacino's character, big boy? Lots of people do. They're good for the liver. Like, what the fuck are you talking about? Why are you talking about walnuts? So it's like for kids, maybe? I don't really know. The crime is usually like gambling. There's like a hint of prostitution, maybe. and they're like a shakedown racket, but the crime is just kind of like generic crime. Warren, like you have Dick Tracy being told like, "Oh, you're violating people's constitutional rights." And he's like, "Okay, but I'll be right back." uh, so that's a little confusing. You have the but so you have the so you have like a backbone of a story that might make sense. Then you have like weird dialogue. Then you have like, I don't know, odd uh, mm, like you have an odd temperature to those things, like the levers you could be pulling, like how dark it's going to be for the horrors. Like I always go, I always go to Joe Pesci's and Moonwalker's bugs and drugs. Like what's your plan here? You're going to infest the world with drugs and bugs? Okay, it's a Michael Jackson film. Who cares? But in this film, like I'm not too sure. Like the violence is the levers are kind of all over the place on what the violence is going to be. The sex is all over the place. It's like Jessica. It makes sense with like Jessica Rabbit because she's a cartoon.
Yeah,
but Madonna, don't say it. It's a real person. and so the sex there is strange. Like it's odd for like, wait, is this for the straight men in the audience? The teenage boys?
No, you are totally hitting the nail on the head of why this movie is so terrible.
Okay,
because you have no idea who is it for. Who is this movie for?
Well, what about the Sondheim score?
Who is that for?
I mean,
hey, Tim Burton got Prince. Who do we got? We got Sondheim. Sondheim comes strolling in. Yeah, I'm gonna Prince this shit up. Al Pacino's gonna play one of my songs on a boombox. He's gonna tear up a museum.
A little song, a little dance.
This feels like a movie made by people that were thinking they were making a kids movie. It was originally supposed to be Disney, but the second they saw Madonna in a see-through dress and sticking her ass in Tracy's face on a desk, they were like, "Oh, we're going to move this over to Touchstone." And the fact that when they started, it was supposed to be a kids film, and there are parts of it where it's like, hey, it's like Tracy, if you could see him as like a tough cop played like a Robert Mitchum type that kind of softens towards the kid and maybe starts thinking of a domestic life with Tess Trueheart. You could see like the parameters of what could be a kid's movie with all the bright colors and freakish characters, but nothing about the execution is something I would think any kid would want to watch ever.
Yeah, I don't know, like Bullworth, there's like a 6-month like spread somewhere between like 9 and 10 maybe. I don't know who this okay, so we have that, and then we have the primary colors, which are jarring. It is an interesting looking film.
It is. So as somebody who went to art school to trade as a cartoonist, there are many painted backgrounds using that system I talked about earlier, the yellow screening, where they use like single point perspective, like in a comic strip.
Yeah.
And every time they would cut to it, I would go, that looks kind of cool. And then it would cut to a scene of people talking and Warren Beatty stammering as Madonna tried to kiss him. I don't know. I don't know what the fuck this movie is for.
Well, so there's two parts that we haven't really touched on. I'm going to leave the biggest one for me at the end. There's times where, along with the like that opening scene where they're fighting in the shed, where he follows the kid and the kid's like being the orphan kid is named the kid is being like abused by this guy, and Dick Tracy's followed him and beats up the guy and like knocks, like the house is moving, the shed's moving back and forth, and it has that great perspective. But they fuck with the speed, like they overcrank it. So like, and they do that like twice in the film during fight scenes. And it's cartoonish, but it's kind of like left like that's gone at different parts. Like After that, it takes a while for it to ever show up again. Instead, you
Yeah.
have like montages, and you have other
And you have more montages. They have a lot of montages in this movie.
a lot of montages. Here's the thing: why I probably didn't watch it in '90, and why I never. You know what? I did try and watch this film about 3 years ago, and I turned it off immediately. Uh, for this reason, the makeup. Like I don't understand. It's like if I say his name one more time after this, he will appear. So let's not make whatever I do. I can't say Bryan Singer's name again.
Ah! I thought it was going to be Joel Schumacher.
But no. So one of the things in like that hour making of I would watch on television for X-Men, he was talking about like, hey, we didn't want to put him in the yellow suits. It looked ridiculous, right? Like we didn't want to put him in uh the outfits that you would expect for the X-Men circa late 80s, 90s.
Yeah.
It looks ridiculous. You can't do it. We had to change like what the things look like because things look different on screen than they do on print. And we're hoping that people are going to accept that and like it better for it. And that just kind of like changes where things go, right? Like when you have Captain America in the MCU, he has like kind of painted on wings on his helmet, right? He doesn't have like wings that come off of it, like Hermes sandals or something. Because what it looks like on a comic book strip is going to be very different than what it looks like on screen. Why did they make these people look so good? It's like Garbage Pail Kids level of like grotesqueness.
That's one of my notes, that the grotesque, I can't pronounce it, of these characters seems like it's pitched towards Garbage Pail Kid fans, which is very niche. Mark demographic. But I don't think the kids, the boys who love Garbage Pail Kids, are going to go see Dick Tracy and go like, har, har, har.
Yeah.
And then sit around for 10 minutes of Madonna half naked and looking like a robot, acting like a robot.
Like there was an appeal to me, because I would have been 10 at the time, of like, oh, so they have a shtick, right? I probably didn't use the word shtick at the time. But I was like, oh, they have like a thing. It's like He-Man, right? That guy does that thing. His action figure does that thing. And so, and the McDonald's cups and the constant advertisement for this film, I was like, oh, I could kind of understand, like, they have a thing, but what's their thing? Like, so Mumbles he mumbles? Wait, why would I care about that?
What does Prune Face do? Is that like a face thing or a sitting on the toilet thing?
Maybe he keeps his face in water for too long.
There you go.
Yeah. Yeah, so I just didn't, like, I was like, oh, okay, they have a thing, but I don't care about the thing.
Mm-hmm.
And what's Dick Tracy's thing? Like, he has a watch that's a radio. Why? Like, what? I don't.
Can we talk a little bit? This movie's terrible. About the cast that Beatty was able to get.
Holy shit, he was able to get
aside Pacino. Well, this is weird because last week we talked about Sea of Love being Pacino's comeback after self-exile for 5 years, and this movie came out the same year as Godfather 3. It was part of his big comeback. It was like you have the sexy leading man of Sea of Love, you got comedy Pacino, and then you got classic callback to his most famous role in Godfather 3. Mandy Patinkin, Seymour Cassell, you got Charles Durning, William Forsythe, Dustin Hoffman, Dick Van Dyke, for fuck's sake, who broke his shoulder in a shot that's still in the movie. Paul Sorvino, James Caan, Henry Silva, and it goes on. Estelle Parsons. Amazing cast for this movie, which speaks to Beatty's power in 1990, where he was like a bona fide Hollywood legend at that point, and he could get these people to sit in a makeup chair for 6 hours before talking about walnuts.
Oh fuck this movie. Yeah. Yeah, it's like a great abuse of power. Like, it feels like a vanity project. Like it should have just been like he should just watch it. This should never been released. He should just watch it like in his private theater, completely naked next to plenty of clothed women. No, that sounded creepy.
That's Danny Elfman. Um, who did he kidnap Bridget Fonda? Because the second they hooked up, Bridget Fonda disappeared. It's like Kevin Kline and Phoebe Cates. I know they live next to each other. I know there's a tunnel between their houses, and there's some kind of weird keeping Fonda and Cates captive. Has to be. Anyway, that's our new podcast, The Good, the Pod, and the Conspiracy. Coming next season.
Yeah, Truth Social. Follow us on Telegraph. Yeah, there's I mean, I guess the other thing is it like if you take like the worst elements of Sin City in that perspective, like you were talking about earlier, it is this like they use it in this film.
What do you mean?
Like the forced perspective and the single point, like it feels, and which you know, Ang Lee's Hulk. I need to go back and watch it, but I bet it feels better than this. Like people are still trying to figure out, I guess, where to draw the line between the comic book and the movie. And I think this takes some pretty bold swings. I guess I appreciate it for that.
Well, I mean, what I think about,
but I rather Tank Girl any day.
The movies that work are the movies where the people who made them have a passion for it because they remember how it made them feel when they first experienced it. I don't think Warren Beatty, when he was a kid reading Dick Tracy, was going back to that. He's trying to make something that, I don't know what, it's like some Frankenstein monster of a movie. But it's not really, it doesn't feel like he's tapping into something like this well of appreciation he has for comic strips of the 1930s, the way that George Lucas and Steven Spielberg, their love of serials comes through in Raiders of the Lost Ark. It's almost like he's playing it towards what he thinks people want. I don't know what the fuck he was thinking.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like, I guess to go back to it, like the aesthetic and other pieces, he was trying to stay too true to it. So I'm trying to think of like Raiders of the Lost Ark, if it was just serials and some of them were missing and they were like released with gaps between. I just don't know. I think I think a comic book movie was a very hard nut to crack, right? And I think you do things like Howard the Duck, which was unsuccessful, but it doesn't try and be a comic book movie. It just is the plot of a comic book. Or you do Darkman, which is great, but is original. And you don't try and force it into the frame of a comic book. And I think it's why like Ang Lee's Hulk got dinged a bit, was that, aside from the CGI and other pieces of it, is that it tried to look, it was trying to remind you that it was a comic book, but at the same time it had like this big dramatic story. I'm not sure, but I think
that's a different season.
Ooh, egging with Lee.
All right, we got a follow up for Aronofsky, I guess. That's pretty good. Yeah, I think this. I'm sure I love Beatty and how weird and how undifferent his performances are, and how he works with like a lot of the same people. We talk about Robert Towne, Bo Goldman, Buck Henry a lot. A lot of the same cinematographers, production designers, and he's always kind of the same. He's one of the most fascinating people, I think, of his era in Hollywood, because I can't quite figure him out. Is he a deeper thinker than I'm giving him credit for, or is he as surface as his characters in some of his films might lead us to believe?
Yeah, I think that in interviews he doesn't come off as extremely perceptive, just from what I've seen. but I wonder. I mean, but that's all. That could also be a persona, right? And so,
Oh yeah, it's his public persona for sure.
and so, I don't know what he's like behind closed doors, and I don't know how persuasive he is or visionary he is in meetings with people.
Well, we know he's fairly persuasive when it comes to the ladies. Up to Annette Bening, he was probably the most famous ladies' man of his generation, wasn't he?
I mean, that's what Shampoo plays off a little bit by having two of his exes in it, right?
Yeah. Uh-huh.
And he doesn't cross the. I mean, by the time of Bulworth, he crosses what I think of as like the Clint Eastwood threshold, where like you're like, oh no, you're far too old for that character or for that woman to like you. Like Halle Berry should not be interested in him in the least.
No,
Uh,
no.
I yeah. But
Well, I'll tell you,
only
Lauren,
like
that
five
she's.
only like 5 years earlier. I think Bulworth is 95. I could be wrong about that, but it seems like only like half a decade earlier. It kind of makes sense that Madonna might uh, be attracted to him. I mean,
If only because we know in real life that they were together for over a year, and he asked her to marry him at one point.
and also he does look pretty good in a yellow trench coat and looks a lot better than Big Boy Caprice.
Yes, it's a total classic dick move to make a movie, and anybody famous around you just put in pounds of makeup and make him look like shit. So no matter what guy is in this movie, they're like, "Yeah, I'll sign up. That sounds great. You're going to be in makeup too, right, Beatty?" And he's like, "Yeah, I'm gonna get the nose, sure." Oh, we tried it in pre-production; it didn't look good, so I'm gonna go without makeup or any prosthetics anyway.
Did they actually try the
Uh,
nose? Do you know?
they did.
Oh,
They
okay.
did. I would love to see some photos of it, but it didn't look good. Liam Neeson, a younger Liam Neeson, would have made a great natural Warren Beatty with his boxer's nose.
A natural Warren Beatty or natural Dick Tracy?
A natural Dick Tracy.
Oh, got it. Okay. I think you said the other. But I don't think Clint Eastwood would be that badly cast. I think he'd be a little bit old. I think he's a little too old in 90. I mean, that's Unforgiven era, right?
And I think actually one thing that Eastwood would bring to it as the character is that at that time, Beatty was still swinging single without any kids. It wasn't until Annette Bening that he started popping out kids in his 50s. Eastwood had like 15 or 16 kids by that point. And when he acted with kids, he was always really good. And maybe that's something that's missing from this movie is a genuine chemistry between the older guy and the orphan.
What I mean, I guess there's the movie Bronco Billy, but that was terrible. What? When did he act with? Oh, okay. No,
Honky Tonk Man.
Oh, okay.
Honky Tonk Man with his own son. That's a great fucking movie. But also Eastwood has always had a good facility with kids. I think because he's had kids, like a million of them.
But I also think that he would be funnier and warmer in this film than Beatty, which is strange to say.
He would be able to pull off the Law and Order stuff as kind of being in character, but also kind of funny. And then Eastwood would have been pretty good in this.
Yeah.
Now that we're talking about it, it would have been a lot funnier. It would have the comedy would have come off a lot better. It would have been better than City Heat anyway.
Or
Beatty at one point I talked to the Coen brothers about working on this movie. I don't know how serious they got.
Yeah, that would be fascinating, right? I wonder. I mean,
this would have been very early Coen brothers, like right after Miller's Crossing, Barton Fink era. And Barton Fink and Dick Tracy, they kind of overlap, which is weird because, like I said earlier, Al Pacino and Michael Lerner's Lipnick, very similar. Lerner doesn't go as over the top. I think he got an Oscar nomination. But their characters are both have a very similar cadence. It's very weird. When I first started watching, I was like, who the fuck is Al Pacino sound like? And it was, Lipnick from Barton Fink. Weird. Whatever was in the air that actors of a certain age were getting, it was creating that performance.
Is there any? I'm trying to think of anything that is worth talking about in this film other than what we've just mentioned.
I like Glenn Headley, R.I.P. She was always a really nice character actress. She's great in everything she was in. And this cast, I don't know. It's weird. Like, is that James Caan? It's one of those movies where you're like Leonardo DiCaprio, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood meme, where you're pointing at it, where they're so buried in makeup. That takes a second to figure out who they are.
Yeah, yeah. Because yeah. I mean, you usually could do it by the voice, but even that, for some reason, I couldn't quite.
I had to look up James Caan. I know that's terrible, but yeah, it's dumb.
It's dumb.
It made some money.
It probably made it. Did it make its money back? Do you know? I'm sure it did.
It did.
Yeah.
It was fairly successful.
Too big to fail.
The Madonna and Beatty relationship really was a big part of the publicity for the movie. And it's what a lot of movies, okay. Barbie and Barbie Land. If they never left it, it would feel as oppressive as Dick Tracy.
You mean just visually?
Yeah, it's only when they break out and they have a contrast that the Barbie movie really breathes. And Dick Tracy is what that would be like if they never left. That's my modern review of Dick Tracy.
Well, yeah, it's part of that era that I wonder if we'll ever see again. Like, what would be the resurgence of trying to reinvent the superhero movie to be more like a comic strip?
Yeah.
I don't really see the need.
So when Beatty dies, the rights will go to, how does that work? Will Annette Bening just like sell it the second he dies? He's like on his deathbed. He's like, Annette, don't, because he would stammer because it's very sexy. Don't sell the Dick Tracy right. And then he flatslines, and then the second it's over, she's on the phone.
But who's buying at that point? I mean, you think it's just like the people own rights to the Beatles at that moment? Yeah,
it's an IP. An IP is worth everything in Hollywood, and God bless Warren Beatty for making stupid videos to hold on to his rights, so no one makes another version of it until after he's dead.
We've never seen a Blondie movie, not the band, but the comic strip.
Yeah, I mean, I have been waiting for someone to make an actual Dagwood sandwich on screen.
Yeah. I think I'm going to watch the Flintstones movie this weekend, just and then watch the sequel.
Both of them?
Yeah. The other one has some joke about what's the title? It's like something about rock, like Las Vegas or something. Yeah.
Viva Rock Vegas.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you for remembering that. I feel so bad for your brain. It's got to be rotting it. Like it's a cancer in your head to be able to remember the sequel to
a giant tumor. John Goodman as Fred Flintstone.
Well, none of the original cast is in the second one, which is one of the reasons I want to watch it.
Oh wait, who is in the second one?
I do not recall, but I'm sure the Dr. Internet will tell us at some point.
Okay. Kevin James. I don't know.
So
are we done with Dick Tracy?
Are we ready to start to wind down season 10?
Whew, I guess so. Can I read a list of all the movies we've watched for season 10?
Absolutely. All 30 movies, you said?
Yep.
Yeah, go for it.
All right. Daredevil, Gone Baby Gone, Wet Hot American Summer, Cocaine Bear, Untouchables, The Postman, Twins, Throw Mama from the Train, Men at Work, Repo Man, Pineapple Express, The Disaster Artist, Ransom for a Dead Man, What Sex Am I, Once Upon a Time in Mexico, The Maldonado Miracle, Star Trek 4, Star Trek First Contact, Under the Cherry Moon, True Stories, Magic, Brighton Rock, Cremaster 3, Tough Guys Don't Dance, Dawn of the Dead, Night of the Living Dead, Sea of Love, The Color of Money, Shampoo, and Dick Tracy.
So we started with a superhero movie, we ended with a superhero movie, or at least a comic book movie.
Hey, that's funny how that turned out. Eagle-eared lis- eagle-eared listeners will be able to hear that as I was going over that title of films, I was suppressing a cough so hard. I don't know how Anthony Hopkins did it in Magic. The whole drinking and singing and whatever.
No.
Anyway, do you have? I want to ask, of all the films we watched, of a film you wouldn't have watched had we not done this. Is there one that stands out? You're like, this is kind of a fun season because I wouldn't have watched that otherwise. And why is it The Postman?
I I read The Postman for that episode,
Mhm.
and
That was a great episode.
I'm glad that I read that.
Hmm.
I was surprised about 90s line dancing in The Postman, along with a number of other things. I was I think one of the big surprises or reveals for me this season was Lee Grant,
Me
because
too. I
while
was going to say the same thing.
while I wouldn't know her name, I would kind of know her face from things, and it was great to learn her unfortunately tragic story of being blacklisted. I enjoyed what Sex My Minutes tremendously.
Hmm.
And yeah, it was great to watch things that she would pop up in since then as I watch films from the 60s, 70s, and 80s.
Shampoo. Yeah, that was a fun episode with Charlie, and definitely that was the top of my list of her story. Always a pleasure to watch a Columbo, especially an early Columbo, the second pilot, and then What Sex Am I think was utterly fantastic, eye opening. Yeah,
It was
I made
good
it all worthwhile.
it was good to revisit some films that I'll watch on a drop of a dime, like Wet Hot
Hmm.
American Summer and A Dawn of the Dead.
Um, yeah, and then there was something like Brighton Rock, which I don't know if I'll ever watch again, but I really enjoyed it, and I'm glad I saw it. And it kind of is another puzzle piece to like the Richard Attenborough
Well, you
story.
had watched Magic a lot, but it was my first time watching it, and I'm very glad I did, and would definitely recommend it to other people. I think that it was a matter of the cover of the movie misleading me to what the nature of the film would be.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It was a fun season.
Yeah,
Um,
and there's some things that I won't forgive people for, like Cream Master.
you and I watched The Postman and talked about it at length, and we deserve an award for that.
We do. It is. Uh, it's a little bit like watching Bullworth, though, but longer.
Wait, yeah. Anyway, you have some awards, don't you?
Yeah, so these are all for season 10. This is completely right in, so we'll see how this goes. Maybe typically at the end of a season, we will rank the films, and all the guests, usually the three of us, Jack included, will give our like top movies, and or even go through the whole film. Like in this case, we probably wouldn't go through all 30, but we might do our top 10 and bottom 10.
Yeah.
But because these are so diverse, it didn't make a lot of sense. So we open this up to you, our listener. And so we'll see how this goes. I'm opening these as we talk. So that's a little bit why a little bit of the prattle here. And so I guess, yeah, if this doesn't work out, maybe you, Jack and I should have like a vote as well, but we'll just see what they did. So
Okay.
okay. So first category, Season 10's least convincing portrayal of a child or a teenager. It goes to, Greg Sesterio's mom and Disaster Artist, who says, yeah, I just turned 14 when her son said he was 19. So I guess that's a technicality there. But yeah,
Uh-huh.
so that had one vote and that won. Cutest Alien.
Oh, wait. Cutest alien. Is it the Board Queen in First Contact?
No, no. It
Ah,
looks like Eddie Martin as Jose Maldonado in the Maldonado Miracle.
way to go, young man. You were great.
Season 10's nicest buns. So we just watched Shampoo. Let's see what. Nope, not Shampoo. It is the burger at the barbecue that Paul Rudd eats before the barbecue sauce scene with Elizabeth Banks.
Yes.
So that, of course, would be from What Hot American Summer. Oh, season 10's best hair. We talked a lot about hair, I guess, during the.
Wait. Could I go over some my favorite hair
Yeah,
of the season?
yeah. But you
Okay.
have a vote. The voting's closed, and we.
Okay, I'm a big fan of Tom Cruise's Pompadour in Color of Money. I'm obviously a big fan of Fats's hair in Magic. Let's see, James Franco in Pineapple Express has great hair.
Yeah.
Antonio Banderas in Once Upon a Time in Mexico,
amazing hair.
great hair.
Yeah.
And the CGI fur on Cocaine Bear.
Oh, okay. Unfortunately, it looks like What Hot American Summer wins another one with Ken Marino's hair.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
That's a nice fro.
It is.
All right. Season 10's best remake of a beloved film.
Okay.
Goes to The Disaster Artist.
Oh, okay. Not a Living Dead.
Yeah. That I don't think that counts for anybody. This looks like the best vessel with nuclear leak. Best vessel with nuclear leak. Repo Man.
Yeah.
Won that. Repo Man. Yeah, of course. So season 10's most distracting forehead.
Oh, wait. Let's see. Cocaine Bear, Robert De Niro and the Untouchables. Again, the Borg Queen, lover.
Uh-huh.
Is it the penis that the bee comes out of in Cremaster 3?
Ooh, that's a foreskin. We're talking about forehead. Which the winner is, drumroll, Colin Farrell as Bullseye in Daredevil.
I almost forgot we watched that.
Best detective work in any film of season 10.
It's got to be Peter Fonda in The Maldonado Miracle. He's like, wait a second, that Jesus statue didn't bleed real blood.
But it did, so he's disqualified. It's going to be Harmony Baddeley as Ida Arnold in Brighton Beach.
Ah, okay. Good
Brighton
one.
Rock. No.
Yeah. Not Anne Margaret's husband in Magic.
Best performance by a musician? I'm sorry. Best acting performance by a musician.
You didn't watch The Color of Money, but Iggy Pop has a cameo where he loses in pool and pays Paul Newman some money. It's not that, though.
Oh, it's not?
No, what is it? Who won?
I thought it was going to be Goldie Hawn because she released that solo album, the country solo album, 1972. But it looks like, hey, it's Ruben Blades. He did everything.
When I was looking back this season, the Maldonado Miracle is probably the slightest movie we watched. But I think about Peter Fonda hitting the bag all the time. And Ruben Blades and Mare Winningham were really sweet. I think about it more than a lot of the other movies that I had seen a million times before. So I give that movie a lot of credit.
True. And he also gets double entry because he was
Whoa.
and Once Upon a Time in Mexico.
That's true.
And that three-hander. I guess it would have beat out Tom Petty as well. O'Shea Jackson as well
as Tom Petty as Tom Petty
and the Postman. Yeah.
Don't I know? Are you famous? I was, but now I run this dam.
Gosh. I was just thinking about that fight scene at the end. It's so dramatic. Oh, hey, season 10's hottest couple.
Ooh. Whew. It's not the bee and the penis again, is it?
You're obsessed. You got a bee in your penis, don't you? So you could replace a bee in your bonnet. No, it is actually Tom and Judy in the Night of the Living Dead remake. Because they catch on fire inside the truck.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
Well done. Well done.
Oh,
it's not Prince and Kristen Scott Thomas, the Cherry Moon,
or Jerome Benton.
Oh no, yeah, it would be Prince and his roommate.
Yeah, Tricky. Yeah. Best edible recitation of Shakespeare. That just has to go to the postman. There's no.
Oh.
Let me see. Oh, child best served by adoption.
Dick Tracy.
Gone, baby, gone.
We had a few, didn't we?
Yeah.
Well, we had two.
A couple.
And the Malden Ode a Miracle.
Okay, maybe. I mean, his dad was
That's
there.
three.
But...
Yeah, it's three.
Okay.
All right. Twins? No.
Hey, best movie with a member of a Star Trek crew member? That doesn't make sense. Oh, okay. The handwriting's a little weird here. Because it's also a write-in category. Very strange. Best.
Wow.
Yeah. Best movie we covered in season 10's cast member who is also a Star Trek crew member. And that goes to Tracy Walter, who played two different Ferengis in Star Trek The Next Generation. Yeah. He played a Ferengi called Chiron and one called Barrick in The Next Generation. So we definitely need to cover Tracy Walter at some point.
We need to do a full season.
I mean, we probably need multiple seasons. That guy's filmography is deep.
Okay. Lay it on me.
Okay. Hey, we're getting towards the end here. Best large mammal on cocaine.
Hang on. Lawrence Tierney in Tough Guys Don't Dance.
Ooh, Wings Hauser, Tough Guys Don't Dance.
Oh, so close.
Runner-up was Harry Dean Stanton in Repo Man.
Very good.
Yeah. Best Gimp mask?
Al Pacino and Dick Tracy.
Ooh, it's going to be the opposite end of things. It would be Ben Affleck in Daredevil.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
There's actually isn't there somebody in an actual Gimp mask in Gone Baby Gone, or am I misremembering that?
With the pedos?
Yeah.
I might have blocked that part out.
Okay. I really like that movie, by the way, Gone Baby Gone.
Yeah, I think Casey Affleck's amazing in it, as are most of the actors. Yeah. All right. Last two. Best makeup.
Best makeup. Best makeup. Is it the penis the bee comes out of in Cremaster 3? That's pretty good. You can't see Cremaster 3. Anybody listening, you're not going to get these jokes because you can't see it unless you go to a museum.
That's the only way you can. I mean, we did it. And yeah, I mean, you should as well. I mean, that's what museums are there for, is to see bees.
It was probably the only time Thomas, Jack, and I wore tuxedos at the same time is when we went and saw that.
Well, and then when we were playing football that one time.
Right before my wedding.
Yes. Right? Yes.
Uh-huh.
Best makeup would be What Sucks Am I?
Okay. That's actually a good one.
Yeah. And then best juvenile delinquent credited as kid.
I'm not going to use the Cremaster 3 joke again. It's not Tom Cruise in Color of Money, is it?
Ooh. That's a good guess. No, it looks like Aaron Holiday is the credited kid in Cocaine Bear.
Oh, okay.
He's the one of the three thugs who gets his ass kicked by um uh O'Shea Jackson.
Hmm.
And has the flashbacks and with his dead friends going to California.
Ice Cube Jr., that's right.
Yeah.
That was great. Was that the last one?
Yeah. So thank you for writing in some of those categories and providing quality responses to all of them.
Okay, so I have a few side hustle, because we call this season Side Hustle. I have a few side hustle questions for these. We have 30 movies, so presumably 15 directors / writers.
Ooh, actually, a few more than that because we Prince and
we doubled up, like the Star Trek and the
Frank,
right.
yeah.
Of all of these people that we covered, which one coming out of the airport would you most like to have as your Uber / Lyft driver home?
Oh boy! Wait. So, okay, we have to stick with the creator, right? Like I can't.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we got Affleck,
Elizabeth Banks,
Costner, DeVito, Estevez, Franco, etc., etc. I have the list right in front of me. I don't know if you do.
I don't have it right in front of me, but I have one of those terrible memories. So,
okay.
Can I have Richard Attenborough, but like at 25?
Oh, that'd be awesome. Yeah, I'm gonna pick David Byrne.
Ooh.
True Stories.
Okay. Yeah, he's a good driver. He's got that rubber wheel.
He's kind of like he's a local guide. Who, if you were going to find a perfect one-of-a-kind gift for your loved one on Etsy, which one of our participants in season 10 do you think would have the best Etsy store to fulfill that order?
I would be curious. I mean, I guess just like general gifts, because I guess I'm taking this a little literally because it's holiday season around us. I think Selma Hayek would have a pretty great store.
That's pretty good. I'm going Matthew Barney in Cremaster 3 because it would have fucking diamonds all over it.
I got Andrew, I got you a penis that has a diamond bee coming out of it.
And when you plug it in, a little bee comes out attached to a wire, and it looks like it's coming in and out. It's great. Who amongst our season 10 participants would have the best stall in a antique vintage mall?
Tom Savini.
So you like that? Okay, you're right. You answered so quickly, and it was so perfect. I was like, oh yeah, totally. Okay, so antique vintage mall stall. Who has the best books? Like someone who has their specialty is the books. Who's the best read of all of these folks, alive or dead?
You know, there's a certain elegance to Lee Grant.
Ooh, I like that.
I think that she would have a large array of quality books.
I would probably go Attenborough or Richard Price.
I think
the Dicks.
And I'm probably completely wrong about this. And if I was a larger person in the media or something, I would check what I'm about to say. But I'm kind of a small person, small fry, so I'm going to punch up and just say I think Warren Beatty's library probably looks like a bunch of Cliff Note books.
Like Brad Pitt in Seven.
Exactly.
Aw, sorry, Warren Beatty, if you're listening. I still love you, buddy.
Yeah. He did like an immense amount of research for Reds. Like went to the archives, and so it's probably unfounded, but maybe not.
Yeah. And James Franco, but he's canceled. So if anybody was going to knock on your door and say if you needed help mowing your yard, lawn, backyard, whatever, which amongst our participants would be the most likely and the best at doing it?
Who who would be the best person to mow my backyard? I don't have a backyard,
Huh?
man.
Okay, pretend you did.
Oh, okay. So I'm gonna pretend like I have a backyard. Um, hmm. I mean, shit. I mean, I think like Savini would be up to pranks. I think. I mean, some of them just seem so old. I'd be afraid.
I'm gonna go with that. I'm gonna go with Estevez.
You think?
It's not the
I don't.
name. It's because he seems like the one that would do it the quickest and most efficiently.
Do you think he would be like he would have his head down and he would be really focused on doing a good job?
I do. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Who amongst our participants would be the one most likely to sell you off market drugs?
Oh, I mean, it would seem like I'm gonna go
Alive or dead?
Oh, off market. I mean, I think potentially Ben Affleck.
Um,
I could see him. You're saying like designer drugs, like cutting edge stuff, or like like alternative pharmaceuticals, like tinctures and.
mhm.
Okay,
No.
both.
Okay. Okay. Who amongst us would be an influencer on social media selling like protein drinks,
Oh, okay.
other kind of lifestyle shit? Is the most lifestyle shit person, alive or dead, canceled or uncanceled?
Oh fuck, I don't know. Maybe.
That if you were scrolling through the
And I
Instagram and you
saw it.
saw like
If I
you're
saw
like, oh well,
Selma Hayek slinging shit, I wouldn't be surprised. But she
okay,
doesn't need it. But still, like I yeah, she's just
I'm gonna
glamorous.
go. I'm gonna go Norman Mailer just because if I was scrolling, I would stop and go like, what the fuck is he selling? It's like a plug-in car lighter.
Do you
What?
wait? You think Norman Mailer would be like an Orson Welles?
Holy yeah, 100%. You plug it in and then you plug in your car lighter. It goes right into your outlet. That way you can have car lighter lighting in your home. I swear by this. Sometimes I'm sitting at home, sitting on the couch. I say like, I feel like I want a cigarette, like I'm driving a car. I plug it in. There you go. Yeah, Norman Mailer.
Yeah, you've definitely sold me on this idea of Norman Mailer being an influencer in my scroll.
Good. If I've done one thing today, it's that. Okay, so last one out of everybody we've covered, who would have the worst OnlyFans account? Worst.
I don't know what that is, Ken. You have to explain that to me. What's OnlyFans?
You know what OnlyFans is.
I mean, it definitely has to be our cream master guy, right?
Matthew Barney.
Yeah.
Like, guess what's underneath this? You'll have to come to the museum and pay $200,000 to see. That would be every TikTok, right?
Yeah, like it would. My account would be drained.
Yeah. Yeah. Who would I go with? Worst OnlyFans account. Yeah, I'm gonna have to go again. Norman Mailer. He would just be sitting there looking at the camera with a bottle of half empty liquor, and he would be talking about those some bitches.
Yeah,
and that before for my patrons,
you know what?
I have more to say about this to my patrons.
See, this is why I should not work off my memory, because I want to change all my answers, and all the questions in the past, all of them. are going to be one answer, and it's going to be Danny DeVito.
All right. Jack, go back and edit Thomas saying Danny DeVito.
You want to
Thomas
clean
saying Danny DeVito. Yeah, go ahead.
I'm just going to do it clean for you here, Jack, so you can do it. Danny DeVito.
Okay, cut that and put it to every answer Thomas had to this questionnaire. Yeah, that was fun. Well, that about does it for season 10 and 2023.
Yeah, I don't remember anything about this year. I think that this season has just wiped my memory.
Yeah, I mean, we watched a lot of Streep. We did our 4x4, and this
Was that all this season? I'm sorry, that was all this calendar year with Streep, and wow.
Yeah, I have The River Wild as my first film I watched this year for the podcast on my Letterboxd account, which you can go and follow me, Ken.
Why
space Coral?
What happens if people follow you
on Letterboxd? More people get to see my stupid, drunken, stone takes on other movies than the ones we talk about on the podcast.
Oh, so you're advertising an alternative to the podcast?
Well, in addition to, it's like the podcast
supplemental.
Plus.
Okay,
yeah,
it's like go watch Dick Tracy and get the hamburger with his face on it.
Yes.
Okay.
Like Dick Tracy. Can I read my first sentence for my review of Dick Tracy? This is like a teaser. This is like my side hustle.
I don't think I'm going to be able to stop you.
Dick Tracy, 1990, a movie made by talented people who had no idea who they were making this movie for.
And
that's about it. Yeah.
Yeah. So I guess if that's tantalizing, if that's that's a strong lead.
Not really. And I get into some Madonna shit later on. It's fine. I'm not that nice.
Yeah, I guess.
Thomas, what are we doing for season 11?
Season 11, 1-1. We are going to do Aronofsky. Darren Aronofsky.
If you ever looked at a clock and it said 11:11, it's because it is all led up to our season 11 of The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly.
Yep.
It's all been leading up to this. It's like the Bible plus Nostradamus. 11:11. It's coming. Darren, we're going to do the temporal pincer movement where we go to the last one, first one.
Correct.
And we move toward the middle. I can't wait.
Yeah.
Pie and the Whale. It will be our first episode of season 11. It's going to be great.
That sounds like one of those early aughts art film, like
Pie and the Whale.
Yeah, the Pie and the Whale. It's probably about some professor at a liberal arts school, some disenfranchised kid. They meet up.
Noah Baumbach is the writer-director. Jack wants to beat him up because of it. Yeah.
So, yeah, stick around. Don't die. And in 2024, you'll start to hear some takes on one of the creator of some of the best and worst films I've ever seen in theaters.
He has a temporal pincer movement as a director, if you think about it. If you go from good to bad, he's got it all.
Yeah, I mean, I think he swings, not like sexually, but like he swings big, like, and yeah, sometimes that really whiffs, like it comes back and hits him in the head, knocks him out.
It's like wearing a scarf in a very strong wind.
Yeah,
he is well known for wearing scarves. Look it up on Google. The joke will be funnier. Thomas, thank you for being here and doing this. I really appreciate it. And I appreciate our listeners and Weird AI for the last. This is the last of this theme song, right? We're going to have a new one next season.
Yeah. No, I think that actually is going to happen. We've been teasing it for a while.
For about 6 months.
Yeah. Thank you preemptively to Jack for editing this episode.
If this episode comes out in 2024, listeners, I'm going to Paris and I'm gonna Homer Simpson strangle my son.
Yeah, that's admissible in
And
court.
that means it's a comedic way. It's like why you little, and he's like ah ah ah, and it's funny.
Yeah.
And then the next day they're all eating pancakes again.
Okay, or crepes. And
I don't even have a yeah.
All right. Well, you know what? We should really come up with a way, maybe as we enter into the teens, to end the show.
Oh, like a send off.
Yeah, or like something we always say, or I don't know.
That's a good idea. Can we try a different one for the next season, and then when one works, we'll just use it?
No. If it works, we're definitely going to abandon it.
All right. You want to try one right now?
No, I'm just thinking one question. What do we eat? What do we eat?
All right.
What do we eat?
As well, to quote Dustin Hoffman in Dick Tracy, to you, our listeners,
so yeah, just put that on your record and slowly turn it at a different angle or speed, and yeah, be well.
And then